Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about remasters. Now, usually whenever there is a remaster of a certain title, sometimes you will see people that will come out and start questioning whether or not the remaster of that particular title was actually necessary, or if they actually feel like the franchise is being milked, or something along those lines. And I've seen some of those comments in the recent video that I did where I talked about the remastered version of Dark Souls and how excited I was about the remaster of Dark Souls. So I figured I'd use that to kind of talk about my personal take on remasters of old games and so on and so forth. And we'll start by addressing the Dark Souls one, where people specifically question, did Dark Souls actually need a remaster? In my opinion, yes, it did. And you guys are wondering, but why? I mean, we've played this game. You've seen it on the PlayStation 3. We've seen it on the PC. And as a matter of fact, on the PC, you can get all kinds of crazy mods, increase the resolution, make the game look really, really good. But that's the thing. You can only really do that kind of stuff on the PC. Not to mention that if you look at the base version of the game on the PC, it was not that great. It really wasn't. I mean, Blighttown, if I remember correctly, still didn't run that well. On top of it, the base resolution the game comes at, without you actually putting DS Fix or any of the other cool mods in, was actually really low. It actually looked worse on PC than it did on console, at least in my personal opinion. And it's like, if you just look at the base version of the game, nobody would even be asking this question. But I think most of the people that are asking this question, did Dark Souls need a remaster? They're talking about the fully modded version of the PC and all of that stuff. And you have to remember that not everybody owns a PC. Some people only ever experienced Dark Souls on PlayStation 3. And there's a lot more people that own a PlayStation 4 than a PlayStation 3. And sure, you can say some people experience it on the 360 and now it's going to come to the Xbox One as well. But my point here is that, look, as you move from generation to generation, there's always going to be some people that have not experienced a certain game. And in the case specific to Dark Souls, there is in fact a whole subset of gamers that have not experienced this game. I'm talking specifically about the Nintendo gamers, which, like I said in my video, there is a subset of people that will only ever purchase Nintendo consoles, and, you know, they would have never been introduced to something like a Souls game on a Nintendo console without us actually getting this particular remaster. So yes, I think Dark Souls most definitely needed a remaster, not to mention that currently you can have Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2, and Bloodborne all on PlayStation 4, and yet you can't get Dark Souls 1. As a matter of fact, I also think that another game that needs a remaster is Demon Souls. Now, I highly doubt that Demon Souls would get a remaster that would also go into the Nintendo Switch. So I think one of the bigger motivators that got From Software to kind of port this over was also the fact that they could bring it to a whole new console. But again, I would also like to see Demon Souls get a remaster treatment, come over to the PlayStation 4. As a matter of fact, there are a lot more games that I would like to see remasters of, some of which I've actually already played. And I'm always amazed whenever I hear someone say, why are they remastering this game, man? I wish they wouldn't remaster. I wish they would just do something else. And it's like, look, I get it. I want to see new IP as well. But at the same time, you have to realize there are a lot of games that have not been experienced by a whole lot of people because they're still in the previous generation. Like, to give you guys a very easy example for me is Shadow of the Colossus. I've played through the entirety of Shadow of the Colossus on the PlayStation 3 because I'd never owned the console during the PlayStation 2 era. Therefore, I had never gotten to play Shadow of the Colossus. And the fact that Shadow of the Colossus was remastered for PlayStation 3 was fantastic because it was the first time that I personally got to play that game. And you understand that just like me, there's thousands, maybe even millions of people out there that have never been exposed to a certain game because they did not own a specific piece of hardware during that generation. This is also one of the reasons why game preservation, I feel, is something that is extremely important, and it is something that is extremely undervalued in today's gaming culture. Like a lot of people that, with all of these digital releases that we get and stuff like that, it's just like there's not a whole lot of importance being placed on game preservation. Like for instance, Star Wars I was about to say Star Wars Transformers. I want to say Transformers Devastation, the Platinum Games game that they did for Transformers. That particular game is no longer available to be purchased digitally. And you know, as the physical copies get bought out and just disappear from stores eventually, that game will no longer be available for anyone. This is because of licensing and all of that other stuff. It doesn't really have a whole lot to do with remasters. But what I'm saying is, like, that is a game that will eventually die out. And some people will be like, oh, it's whatever. Transformers Devastation, not that really important of a game. But it's like there are games out there that are extremely important that set landmarks. And Dark Souls, to me, is without a doubt one of those games. I mean, I've always said it. It's my favorite game of all times. And the fact that it's getting a remaster, good. And I hope that if eventually we get further consoles down the line that do not get the backwards compatibility with the current generation consoles, I hope these games get remastered for those consoles as well. Because it is important for us to maintain important games in our lives. And it is important that these remasters exist, because one day I want to show Dark Souls to my son. I mean, he's not old enough yet to be playing Dark Souls or even to understand how Dark Souls would work. But one day, I want to be able to introduce this game to my son. This is like I said, one of the most important video games in my life. Like, I hope that I get to introduce this to my son one day and show him how to play and show him what is the best game that his father has ever played in his whole life. It's a legacy thing. To some people, that game will not be Dark Souls. That game might be something else. And they will want to show that specific game to their son. And it is important, again, to have these remasters, to have them happen. It's like, the other thing that also always annoys me whenever this discussion comes up is like, why does it even bother you? Like, how is this affecting you? Like, I'll give you guys another example. God of War 3, for instance, was remastered for the PlayStation 4. Now, I've played God of War 3 on PlayStation 3, and I loved it. I thought it was a great game, but it's not a game that I'm interested in replaying again. Now, luckily, Sony sent me a copy so that I could give it a look, tell you guys my opinions on it. You guys know how that works. So I got to play a little bit of it again and showed it to you guys and whatnot. But it's like, God of War 3 would not be the game that I would purchase if it was remastered, but it would still make me happy that it was getting remastered, because eventually I might want to show God of War 3 to my son as well. You know, teach him about another good video game. It's not something that I want to play again, because I've already finished it once, and I kind of feel like God of War games, I tend to finish once and I'm like, I'm good. I liked it. It was awesome. Great experience. I'm kind of done, you know? But there are titles that I would like to play again. And for instance, Shadow of the Colossus is again an amazing example, because I've already played its first remaster on PlayStation 3. And you can bet your ass I will play it again when it comes out on the PlayStation 4, because I love that game. You know, another game that I would actually like to see remastered, which unfortunately I have like 99% sure I'm never going to see it remastered, because the critics tore that game a new one. And I was very disappointed with the fact that a lot of people just dumped all over that game when, in fact, I personally loved it, is Lost Planet 2. I highly doubt Lost Planet 2 will ever get a remaster, but I would love to I would love it to get it, because there's actually friends of mine that own a PlayStation 4. They've never played Lost Planet 2 because maybe they didn't own a PlayStation 3 back then. And I would love to play that game again with them so that they could enjoy the damn thing. And I know Lost Planet 2 is available on PC and whatnot, but me and my friends, we mostly play consoles, so there's that. As a matter of fact, hey, maybe they could remaster Lost Planet 2, bring it over to the Nintendo Switch as well. Dude, that would make me so happy. As a matter of fact, I got another video that I want to work on, specifically talking about Switch, because another one of the things that was told to me is like, oh, the Dark Souls on the Nintendo Switch is going to look like garbage. And I was like, really? Really? Like, that's the way that you look at things? I mean, I just got to do another video talking about that too. But anyway, that is going to be it for today. I just wanted to let you guys know my opinion on remasters, and did Dark Souls need a remaster, which in my opinion, yes. And in my opinion, if people want to remastered games, remaster as many as you want, because there are experiences that need to be preserved so that we could show them to our children or show them to our friends that didn't have a specific console at a specific date and time. And I think that remastering is a positive thing in the gaming industry, so long as it's done right, so long as it's not done just for the sake of milking a franchise, which sometimes it can feel like that. But it's like, if you remaster it, if you just like, touch up the assets, make sure that the game always receives a little bit of optimization to the new platforms. Like, you can't just like port something over, have it run like trash with the old graphics. That's not the kind of remaster I'm talking about. I'm talking about decent remasters like we've had for Shadow of the Colossus and like what I'm expecting for Dark Souls. So anyway, that's my take on that. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.